So, Synergy is
Yes.
a renewable energies organization, and you're playing in this energy transition landscape. You're contributing to this energy mix for the country. What are some of the hurdles? I mean, as we on this just energy transition journey, what are some of the hurdles that you can call out that as a country we're facing? And how do you think we might get over some of those hurdles?
Okay, thanks. I think to start with, I think the conversation nowadays is a lot better than it was because I remember being a miner, you go to church, so the miners sit on one side and the farmers on the other side. And I think this journey started like that, where we had good times just shouting down each other. So so you'll see the conversation of this morning, it's much more collaborative. So I think the first step is, what does this mean for coal? And initially it started by just switch it off. It's dirty, it doesn't work. And we are seeing that, especially from the global south, that there are conversations of saying, but we need energy security first. I like July's quote saying, as I don't want to breathe clean air in the dark. You need energy security.
Yeah.
So that's phase one. There is going to be a transition. You need to think about how you're going to manage the economics. I'll talk about that a bit later, but it's not just about local, it's about industrialization. So as a country, you need to get industrialization right to get the jobs going. Then closer to home, for the renewables to work, we can have lots of debates about the cent per kilowatt hour and what you need to balance this. The renewables journey is actually a very interesting journey going forward because you have a couple of constraints to manage. So you have the Eskom going down. At what pace are you going down? You can build renewables. We have some interesting challenges which private sector can help solve.
Yeah.
One of them is EPC capacity. We have these nice plans on paper, but EPC capacity is at a shortage currently. You have to build out the renewables. Peter spoke about transporting wind turbines at 90 meters for 1,000 Ks. It's not the Western Cape, it's different. So that's an interesting challenge. I think front and center of all of this is the grid. So the moment you start building out, you need to address the grid.
Yeah.
And the grid has some interesting challenges as well, because you sit with Eskom that has a plan to do this. Eskom needs the funds, and it needs the capacity. So you have this fine balancing act. And then just for very good spice in all of this, to balance intermittency, which is part and parcel of renewables, you need gas. I believe we're going to have to get gas in SA Inc., and then you have a different conversation saying, is it clean enough? It's cleaner than coal. Then you get Bernard tackling me and saying as well, is it carbon storage going to work? I think time will tell whether it works economically.
Yeah.
So there's this interesting path that we have to tread on. So it's not renewables at all cost.
All cost, yeah.
You need to balance various of these
act.
streams, yeah.
And I asked this question to Peter earlier, and obviously, he was able to kind of respond from a wind turbine perspective, and it's the role of technology in kind of supporting, the uptake in renewable energy. And I know from your perspective, you're looking at both wind and solar.
Yeah.
But what are some of the things that you're seeing around technology and either accelerating, being able to deploy renewable energy assets, or maybe decelerating?
Okay.
What are your perspectives around that?
So tech is getting cheaper. I think what SA Inc. did very well is when we started the process, it was an unsubsidized process. If you look at Europe, it was heavily subsidized, and now you have to win them from the subsidies. It's a difficult choice.
Yeah.
In SA, we started, initial projects were more expensive, but if you look now, if you can look at the REIPPP processes, 50, 60 cents for solar, even cheaper, wind slightly more expensive. The end consumer benefits. So for us as IPPs, you've got to be really sharp to make your money.
Yeah.
Does this benefit the end user? Yes. And what are the reasons for the benefits? And it is the cost of technology. If you look at a solar panel, I think nowadays with my home, I started at 350 watts per solar panel. We, at our solar farm, which we're doing now, we've got 600. I know they're doing 700s per watts per solar. So efficiency is definitely good. Tech in terms of the efficiencies of wind turbines, it's not only that, but you need less of them for larger ones. And you also have more efficient, I think, the power curves of them, so they can use resources, natural resources, a lot better. Battery storage, it's coming. I think the application for Eskom is spot on in terms of grid strengthening. For now, it works. If you ask at home, does it work? Does it work for businesses at 3-4 rand a kilowatt hour? Maybe not. But does it have to come where you have this big peak in the middle of the day? What do you do with the excess energy?
Sure.
You move it.
Yeah.
So I think we're on the right track. So I think tech enables a lot of that. I think in terms of grid, we're going to have to see a lot of smarter grids out there with this fluctuation and how to manage it. And tech can solve that as well. I think where tech is not our friend currently is the old tech, where we have our grid was designed in a central purchasing way for coal that runs base load. Now you've overlaid that with an intermittent profile, and you're saying, okay, well, deal with it. So infrastructure there is old. You will need to fix it. So even if there's enough capacity, I don't think there's enough smartness in the system to deal with all of this to balance the load.
So in your last statement, I'm hearing that there's some work still to be done around investing in the right infrastructure to support the new kind of energy sources and technology that are kind of contributing to the energy mix. Perhaps we can kind of maybe double click on that a little bit and just maybe unpack what you're seeing in the renewable space in terms of investments. So where's investment going? Is it in, investigating new ways of generating energy, or is it in, as you say, the technology is getting better and better, you're able to kind of get more efficiency out of solar panels, etc. Where's that investment really going?
So I'll start with sectors. So for the IPPs, when you look at REIPPP, you're saying, it's very racy, it's interesting returns, but yet it's always oversubscribed. So people are investing in government programs, people are investing in C&I. So from sector, they are investing more in the C&I space now. We're even seeing battery storage come there, even hybrid solutions between wind and solar. It depends on the regions that you are. From a tech perspective, I see us using the tech that is available, but if you ask me, where is industry also putting their money? There's a lot of money going into green hydrogen. Whether it's commercially viable yet, my view from where I sit, not yet. Is it going to come? The answer is yes. Are people throwing a lot of money at carbon storage? Yes. You attend a WEF and you look at the big oil majors and you're saying, it's Aramco, what are you doing? They're putting a lot of money in carbon storage. So I think there's a diversity, and I think in solving part of the ask is, if you ask, do we have all the answers now? And the answer is no. We don't have the silver bullet, but are we moving forward? And the answer is, I think so, yes. And then lastly, as I see on a commercial basis, like Peter has said, is we're seeing traders and aggregators coming to market. Now, for that to work, in their most simplest form, you just match buyers and sellers.
Yeah.
It's not great for a IPP because you hope they match you, and if you default on the bank, well, you stand alone because you're a sponsor. More sophisticated, you get traders that are well capitalized.
Yeah.
And so we're seeing some players investing money, and the financial instruments supporting them are also becoming more sophisticated. So you're seeing more investment in that space. It's been done in Europe. We're seeing that move locally.
Yeah.
And I think it will be overlaid by the sophistication of those solutions, because you won't just replicate what you do there. They are obviously moving along. So in some is in current tech, yes, in current market, but there's also a focus on the future, and people are putting seed capital into that, and there's always this argument of the first mover principle that wins. So
the first mover advantage.
Yeah. So whether that will work out, but if your appetite for risk is right and you crack that one, good for you.
Sure. So maybe let's bash the state a little bit. They'll call you. They won't call me. They might call you, Leon. I don't know. But as a player in the renewable energy space, what is your view on the role that regulators could be playing better to kind of better support the industry and better kind of foster, growth in the renewable energy space?
I think first things first. We have now one minister. One is better than three, because it makes it easier for decision making and direction. So that helps. I think what investors want is certainty. Sometimes you don't even like what they say, but if you know it's going to be certain for a while, you can deal with it. I think, so that environment, I think that is starting to happen. So the regulator, the ERA is now, I think it's close to being signed up. Great stuff. I think the directional movement of the transmission company is in the right direction. If you ask me, am I concerned about the build-out rates? Yes. We need, just in terms of hard infrastructure, 14,000 kilometers of line. We're not getting to the annualized rates. Yes, there must be a ramp-up. But I think we're going to need a combination, a really well-oiled combination of private sector and public. And it's not just money. It is skills, it is especially servitudes, and the way to build this out, and also in a grid. It's a bit like a spider's web. You can't isolate it. If you do something wrong in one end, do you affect the system? Yes. So it's complicated. So we need to find a way of working together, but at least we're not shouting at each other. I think what they have done well is, I think REIPPP has created a lot of investment, but also social money for communities. I heard from one of my colleagues, I think the collective contribution, and I don't know the date, of renewables to education was something like 3 billion rand. It's a lot of money. So I think these, and if you do it the same in the C&I space, that can help a lot. I think the untapped area is municipalities. There's a lot of work to be done. I know James and co at the Energy Council, there are models being looked at. I know Cape Town is doing a lot of good work. But we need to follow suit. It's an untapped market, and you can create good there as well. So you must be socially responsible there as well. But the combination must be symbiotic. No one party can solve for that.
So not so much critique as a bit of green shoots that are visible in the regulation market that's really going to support players like yourselves, and then again areas to focus on, like how do we solve for the municipality business model element of being able to participate and kind of take advantage of service providers like yourself for energy. When we spoke earlier with Peter and Mike, we spoke about the workforce or the labor force that's kind of supporting their wind farm projects largely being, miners that are being reskilled and so on. And he also mentioned that, we need to bring back some of the skills to kind of create the capability and the capacity in the country in new technologies like, wind and solar. From your perspective and in your experience, are you seeing similar kind of needs around skills? Is there a big kind of skills gap that you're seeing to kind of really support the just transition journey?
Yeah, so initially, I think the conversation started with, if you take a job from a coal miner, must you retrain the coal miner to become a renewables player? And then we come to the solution, but the numbers don't add up. And the solution to, not the solution, a solution to this is to industrialize SA Inc.
Yeah.
To industrialize SA Inc., you need regulations that encourage players to come here.
Yeah.
Will that be subsidized? Sometimes. If you look at the way that America is going with their tax incentive, who pays for that? The taxpayer pays for that. So if you want to make it local, whether that's a tax break or an SEZ or anything else, we're going to have to create that pool.
Yeah.
And there is not enough of that.
Yeah.
So I think if you make it more of a carrot and less of a stick, and make it more frequent, because part of the reason why this hasn't worked is there's not been frequency. So you can be critical on the industry saying is, where are you? But if you only knock on my door once every 4 years, obviously I'm not going to buy, I'm going to rent.
Sure.
And I think if you create that environment where that wheel starts ticking, and you create infrastructure to transport blades or to assemble or the likes, because a lot of the kit is mechanical. And the training of that is, I think it's all possible, but you need that frequency, and you need the environment where people can come here. And the last thing I want to say, which one sees even in international investors, is people or investors have alternatives. We're not the only destination. We have to make it attractive for people to say, I want to be there. It's an easy place to do business. There is certainty of rules, and the infrastructure and supporting environment is supportive of that.
All right. So do you want to jump in before the clock turns red? Don't steal my time, please. Maybe before we run out of time, from a synergy perspective, and if you can kind of take us into your confidence a little bit and just share with us what synergy is doing in terms of creating a really sustainable and a resilient energy future for all of us here, for the country. What are some of those things that you're looking at?
Okay. Let me delve into the history and give credit to my predecessors. They started long ago. They had binoculars. They didn't have glasses. So they saw this thing coming, and they invested in the REIPPP before it was fashionable. I think he even bought a wind farm from Peter, so he still owes me. We started there, and then we said at a point in time, this coal journey is maybe not sustainable, let's branch out. And the story about greenwashing is, you don't greenwash if you put a lot of money into that. So they got old timers like me to come in there, and they invested in Lephalale solar project, which is costing us R1.5 billion. So that's what we're doing, and we want to do more of that. Because part of the solve is not only just for cost, but it's Scope 2 emissions in our case. And you will do it with a combination of wind and solar and batteries. And then you can only go so far unless you take it off the grid, or if Eskom cleans up his act, then you've got to look for breakthrough technologies. And that's the journey that we are on, and Exxaro is supporting us on that, but not only just for Exxaro, but if we look at the own needs, it's probably 200 to 300 megs. It's times 5 that we're trying to solve for. So I think Exxaro is is doing the right thing, but it's also putting its money where its mouth is.
Yeah.
One of the things that I have to compliment my company for, we have these social and labor obligations on our side, and it's 2.1% of revenue, and you say, it's a sizable amount of money. And due to its conviction on some things, the other day I got a very juicy check from my mother company saying, do more of this, which we could not afford ourselves. So I think that talks to it, to saying is, go ahead, make money, do the green to the best of your ability, but we're here to support you.
And the commitment is there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Okay.
Are you happy that your time's up?
Yes.
Are you happy? We won't have 10 minutes because we are standing between the audience and their tea. Leon, what has been your experience in obtaining regulatory licensing for green projects? Because you speak as if you've now got one minister, but our country's environment is fragmented into many ministries. So let's talk about licensing, permitting as applicable to green projects.
I think generally some of those are decent, but sometimes you get to a regional structure versus a national structure. So you construct a wind facility where there's potentially mining. So you have conflicting rights between mining rights, subsurface rights, and surface rights. It's tricky. What you also find, what we found tricky as well is if you construct on a mining site, you've got to conform to the Mine Health and Safety and not the OSH Act. But your whole industry is geared towards OSH. That's what they know and do. And now you get them and say, no, this is not good enough. So it puts tremendous pressure on the system to actually get it on time as you thought you would, because it's a lot more complicated. But I think government is getting their act together on a fair bit of issues. But industry is always going to say faster. So if you ask me, am I totally satisfied? Not really. But are they moving in the right direction? Yes. But are there some challenges which will be there for a while? I think there are those as well which we mustn't forget. I think the NERSA licenses with the 0 to 100 or 1 to 100 megawatts certainly helped a lot.
Yeah.
That's been decent.
So site selection, obviously if you do it on a mine site, the site has been selected and you deal with the complexities you spoke about. But if you were to build a green project on a new site, what are the sort of key things to consider? Obviously, for wind, you go to where the wind is.
Yeah.
But solar nowadays, we say you go to where the grid is, not where the sun is. So what are the factors that you consider for site selection? What should you consider?
Well, there's a wind atlas and there's a solar atlas, so those pretty much give you an idea. I think what we're all solving for now in the medium term to short term is grid. So Eastern Cape, Western Cape, unless you're a very long-term player, you're not going to play there. So that certainly talks to it. I think the other thing that is an unknown to all of us is we've got current wheeling rates. So effectively, the wheeling rates from the west of the country, the Cape, fairly cheap. If you wheel from the eastern part of the country, it's not so cheap. And those are going to be normalized as well. They talk about cost reflective, that good adage about being cost reflective. I think time will tell how that works. But currently, grid, irradiation, those are the things that you solve for. And you also obviously look at the communities where it is, that you distance from communities, how you can help communities, whether they are, if it's too far, it's in the sticks, so how do you transport your people? If it's too close, maybe it's not the best solution. So there's a multitude of, basically a bit of hard and soft issues that you have to balance the whole time. But I think the big ticket item nowadays is grid.
And Bruce Williamson asks, so transmission sits between generation and distribution. Can our economy support an efficient national grid? One can say, can our economy afford not to have an efficient national grid? But can our economy afford it? Does it imply significant cost adjustment?
I think what we still see is our cost versus the rest of the world in cents per kilowatt hour is not out of kilter. I think it's probably on the lower end, but we started from a very low base. So typically the behavior is if something is cheap, just don't worry whether the lights are on the whole day or night. So I think we are being forced to be more energy efficient. I think the challenge that people will sit with is the grid. I don't think government has the balance sheet to underwrite the development of the grid. So there will have to be commercial ways of structuring that, but there are models like that. And what you will need is a combination of very cheap debt and even concessional funding to make this more affordable. But the solutions are out there, but I don't think I think it's a combination of darkness versus a cost-reflective rate. And we're going to have to all be smarter in the way that we use electricity. Perhaps that's where batteries come in and do the peak shifting. So it's a combination of many things. It's not just, okay, get the grid up and is the grid cheap or not. It's a combination of many things, and the smartness of tech, I think, will play a role there as well.
There are quite a few typical coal miner cynical questions about how clean is the manufacturing of solar panels and so on. I'm on those Twitter groups, but I don't know if all of them should be elevated to this level. But there is a question from Gary Williams. What is your view on Eskom's latest application to NERSA to allow trading licenses, to not allow trading licenses for Discovery Green, etc., where Eskom has distributions? Obviously, it's anti-competitive. Is Eskom trying to stay the monopoly they've been? Are you even prepared to comment? You have to. The question was asked.
I knew you were going to give... I think that has to be sorted out in the wash. I think in a deregulated market, which we are moving to, where Eskom is not the only single buyer, I think that will come to a head there. So I think it's good that the question at least is out in the open, then we can debate it. But I think in future, people will be allowed to trade where it is, and the consumer will have more power to decide where they buy from. So one can understand that Eskom has a business to run and they've got to protect margin. It's the same with municipalities, where you say as well, if you take this away, where am I getting my money? But in the art of the conversation, the solution must be found. The Discovery Greens are not going to go away.
Yeah.
So, ladies and gentlemen, as we go and drink tea or whatever is on offer, so this is not a debate about how clean is coal and how cheap is solar panels. This is about a journey the country has to embark on, which is complex, incentivize certain behaviors in the past, build for a certain past that no longer is the future. And the just energy transition is a lot more about where a coal miner ends up working in a solar plant. Very complex. And thank you very much, Thabi and Leon, for your contribution. Let's go do tea. Thank you very much.
Thank you.